Let's do it live on a Thursday edition of the program. Welcome in Cleveland Browns Daily, Merely Bo, the Great Z, Sunkiss Thursday, pushing 50 this weekend, I'm told. The G-Man. People are saying it, G-Man.
People are saying it.
Easy, easy.
A lot of people are saying a lot of things, Bo.
Yes, they are.
Sunday, 50, pushing 50.
Common sense.
The snow will be gone. Common sense. I have it. Others don't.
By the way,
yeah,
I think you and I are we wearing the same?
Oh my God, we're opposites.
Yeah, are we wearing the same thing
again? Close, very close, very
okay.
close. Yeah, and you're navy over gray, and I'm gray over navy. How about that?
Well,
what a time to be alive! What a time to be alive!
And a very similar. Is it the same brand or no?
This is a Lulu.
That's a Lulu.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
this is the one I got.
Yeah. I have that one. Yeah. I have
nice
that. It's a nice waffle.
Shout out Walden.
There it is. Yeah, like that pony on there. Looks great. I like it. The only thing is I don't know that it's instantly recognizable as what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And also, to me, I thought that when you first walked in here with that, I asked you about it. I said, "Is that a new?"
Looks like the Breeders' Cup or something.
Yeah, it does. There's so many athleisure brands out there. I thought, is there some new horse-themed athleisure brand that I was unaware of?
Don't you think it just the Steed is fine? But maybe you have like the Crossing golf clubs underneath it that like.
Well, I also think you need a Crossing golf club would be wonderful. The Steed is, I love a Steed, and then I think you probably want like a W somewhere. Yeah. But I do like the fact that you pick a Steed.
Yeah,
that's a win.
Trusty. What comes before trusty
Steed? That's what you need. Yeah. Ours. Yeah, I don't like ours. Ours just you got to add something to it. I think you got to have an animal.
Yeah,
that's what you want if you can find a way to shoehorn an animal into a golf course logo, then you're on to something there. Yeah.
I would just take, honest to goodness, I would just take the Black Forest Browns backers logo and say that's my logo.
Anything that starts with a stag,
it's gonna be really good.
Wins.
Yep.
That wins every single day. Give me your day 3 Senior Bowl takeaways.
Well, it's just underway. Some of my day 2 takeaways, though.
You have some takeaways? You watched closely?
Some of the winners and losers.
I got to be honest with you. Before you even go on here, I'm just going to tell you, silly season's tough. It's tough sledding, brother.
Well, I was just saying, we're trying to fight the good fight, and we still haven't even ended the season.
I know.
We haven't even gotten to the combine. Yeah. And after the combine, you still got 2 months until the draft.
It is. But at least you'll have some free agency. At least when you get to the draft, you'll have players of major consequence, known commodities to discuss. There are some great players at the Senior Bowl. There are, and there could be some guys who end up on this team in the second round, third round, whoever. I don't think the second pick in the draft is at the Senior Bowl. He's not. So like you have. There's depth guys there, but it's tough to – I mean, I'm even watching like the NFL Network coverage of this, and you got Jeremiah on there with that Rhett guy, and they're in there, and they're breaking this stuff down. It's like, man, you're just watching linemen go through drills. Like, what are we doing? How much can you take from this? And here's the thing that folks don't understand.
Bubba's been great, though.
He's great.
Doing the boxing ring announcing.
Absolutely. Those are great. But the reality is that what percentage would you say in terms of the intel and the decision made on prospects has been made via college scouting? And how much will be made over the next 2 months?
That's a good question that we should ask AB when we talk to him.
Write that down. We'll do it at the combine.
I'm gonna say 75.
75 hays in the barn.
75.
I was going to go a little higher, but I think we're in the same vicinity. And I would think that the only thing let me just see if I can find a way to rephrase this to pin down the point even more so. I don't think there's anything physically, or maybe less than 5% if you want to go there. Less than 5% of what you think about a prospect in terms of their physical abilities is going to be made up in the next 2 months. If you shy from a player in the next 2 months, it'll be because of something that they say or that doesn't jive with you as an organization, or that you don't like them personally as a personality. So I would say that physically 90%, 95% of what you think of a prospect is going to come off of the tape.
Yeah, that's the meat and potatoes. So I was going to say 75%. I said I think that you can get confirmation of a lot of things that you believe in the next 2 months. But what's going to fill that out are medical, the in-person interviews. Sometimes the times, just like the raw athletic traits, and that's typically going to be to back up what you believe you saw on film.
Yes.
But that's really all that's going to change. It could even be 90-10, honestly. But
That's kind of what I think. I think unless something pops up medically, that's a good job out of you to bring that up. That's a big part of it. Something
that's a
pops
huge
up
part.
medically
That's why I
at
thought
the
it would.
combine.
That's why he made it still a quarter.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think your quarter's the right number when you add the medical part of it, that side of it, and then the personality side of it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that adds up,
interviews,
and all that. But in terms of like what you see on tape, and I like how you phrase that too, from the standpoint of whatever you think, you can use what you get data wise over the next 2 months, Senior Bowl, Combine, to validate your already belief in who they are as a player.
Yeah.
There's very few instances where, I mean, there's some, it's usually a mistake, like when DK Metcalf didn't run a good cone or whatever the hell that was, and we're like, well, he ran really fast, he's really strong, he's really big. Like he can go, and it's like, I don't know, he didn't have a great 3 cone or whatever, and it's like, well, that was pretty stupid to think that was going to be the determining factor of him being a great pro or not. So there's less and less of that now, I think. More and more it's like, okay, the tape don't lie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's always got to be. That has to be the meat and potatoes of everything that you do. It's got to be, right, that the tape don't lie. I will say there are some clear winners and losers happening down there, and I talked with Siciliano about it a little bit yesterday as well. Mike Green, the edge from Marshall, is been the most dominant player there. They think that he's going to be a top 16 pick now. A lot of people are saying they think that he's put himself in the top half of the first round. He had that rep where he threw the guy on the ground like a little child, and that was like a 300-something pound guy. Mm-hmm. So he certainly has been a guy that's gotten a lot of attention. The other would be Tez Johnson from Oregon.
He's a good player.
So he weighed in at 156 pounds.
Really?
Which would put him in you don't bet on anomalies. Don't bet on outliers. 5'9", $156. But he has been dominant, and they're saying he's have a Senior Bowl performance similar to that of Ladd McConkey and Tank Dell. Now, Ladd went second round, Tank Dell went third, but, I mean, this is a guy in the third round. He can run. He was the one, correct me if I'm wrong, in the game against the Buckeyes, the playoff game, who got open on the vertical, but Dylan Gabriel underthrew him.
Is that the one?
Was Tez Johnson up
so.
the left side,
He's
and he was like he had separate. It should have been a good ball. It's a touchdown. Yeah. So he's been very good, unguardable in the 1-on-1s. So these are some other names. Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo, has had a good day too. Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss. Jalen Royals, wide receiver, Utah State, 5'11", 210. Now, what's interesting for Tez is he has the same wingspan as Jalen Royals, who's a significantly bigger receiver. Mm-hmm. And then the losers, they said the tackle from Oregon who got steamrolled by Mike Green, Josh Connerly Jr., Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State, Landon Jackson, edge of Arkansas, and then here's this Jalen Milroe. I mean, he has been a brutal.
He's not accurate.
33% of his passes more than 5 yards in the air were uncatchable. It's been in Alabama. It's not 50-50 whether he's completing a pass. It's really been 50-50 whether or not the receiver has an opportunity to make contact with the football. Not catch it, but can they even contact the football? He's
actually, I thought, a great example of someone who should have returned, because he still has eligibility, should have returned to Alabama and played under Kalen DeBoer in that offense for a second year. They have a 17-year-old true freshman wide receiver there named Ryan Williams, who graduated high school a year early, who, when Jeremiah Smith goes wherever he goes, he will be the next receiver off the board in that draft. He is a stud. The last half of last season, they could not connect.
Yep.
He had a monster game against Georgia. Ryan Williams did, and so did Jalen Milroe. But as the season went along, it fell off a cliff in terms of his production, Williams' production, and Milroe's production.
Yep.
And he also could have crushed it in NIL in college.
Yeah.
Several $1 million probably. There's big value for him there.
For sure.
And he regressed. Without Tommy Reese, he regressed. They didn't have a great run game last year. They only had Williams was really their only receiver threat because they had some guys transfer out. But yeah, I mean, when I saw 16 touchdowns, 11 picks, when I see 63%, 62% completion percentage, that ain't it, brother. That ain't it.
No, and the catchable ball percentage was the worst in the league on passes more than 5 yards down the field. And I mean, the FBS of the major quarterbacks. he, because of, and Mary Kay wrote about this today, it's not what he is now or what he's been, it's what he can be. But we even went through it yesterday. He's nowhere near what Hurts and Lamar Jackson were.
No.
Nowhere near as a runner, nor as a thrower. But he's somebody that if he was there and, perhaps he slips because this has been so bad and he becomes now a late third, fourth round pick, sure.
He's the type of guy who, if that were the case, if he was a third round pick or whatever.
It's like Malik Willis.
Yes, but he's also the type of guy who would probably benefit tremendously by going to play in the spring somewhere and play some games. Because the reality is it's very difficult to develop in this league at that position. There's not enough reps to go around. There's not enough games to go around. We're down to 3 preseason games now, so you kind of have those, and that's it. And then once you get into season, there's no time to be coached up.
No,
you're trying to win a game. You're trying to win on Sunday. You're not worried about developing a quarterback from 3 years from now. It's like they kind of have to develop on their own. They got to be self-starters. And if there are finite things that are wrong with them, it can't really get fixed at the NFL level. And accuracy, I think, is one of them.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to fix that, over the course of it. Tez Johnson, go back to him just for a second. You mentioned how I was shocked at the number. I know he's listed around that, 5'10", 170 or something like that, but those numbers are really low. In terms of their most challenging games this season, how did he do in those games? They actually struggled against Idaho. He was 12 for 81 in that game. In the first Ohio State game, he was 7 for 75 and a touchdown. His blowout game was Penn State. He went 11 for 181 and a touchdown against Penn State. In the semifinal loss to Ohio State, or quarterfinal loss to Ohio State, he was 5 catches for 32 and no touchdowns. I'm pretty sure you have that right, though, that he was the one who snuck open and they couldn't get it to him deep.
Yep.
Pretty sure you have that right. But he's a weapon. I mean, he was dangerous for them, absolutely. And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're looking for that's you and I talked about this yesterday. You're looking for something I have to game plan for, something I have to be worried about, concerned about, something that I have to defend and make me think. And that's what this league's about. You have to score points and you have to have weapons that put the fear into defenses. So he's got that.
He most certainly does have that. He does. And that's, like, to your point, yeah, that's what you need. You need somebody that can go out there and make plays. And at that size, I think that probably puts him in the third round. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. It's smaller than you would like. And again, my favorite receiver in this draft is well documented that it's, T-Mac. Love him. Think you have a good obviously Hunter's a stud as well. But yeah, playmakers are a priority for this football team. We've talked about it ad nauseum at this point. You need to be better on the offensive side of the football. And I think that is the only thing that could be appealing to anybody on this roster about why things are going to be better this year. We were the 32nd ranked offense in the National Football League. There are 32 teams.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win that way in 2025, 2024, 2025, and beyond. That's just not where the game is going in the National Football League. So I think that is the only thing that could get anybody excited about what's going to happen here is we're going to get this quarterback thing right. We're going to be aggressive in attacking it, and we're going to make these things go for you. That's it. That's all you can do.
Just to buttress your point on Milroe, their signature win last year at Alabama was the win against Georgia. They beat Georgia in Tuscaloosa, 41-34. He was 27-33, 374, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in that game. Also ran for 117. That was his tour de force. That's when he went from top of the Heisman.
That was the game when
Ryan Williams had 180 yards receiving in that game. That was half of the yards.
We were in
Ryan
Vegas.
Williams. Yeah, and he hit that 75-yarder.
Yeah, it was
Georgia
like a crazy,
had tied it, and then he hit Williams on a 75-yarder, and that was it.
Yep.
From that point on, so they improved to 4-0 from that point on. Alabama lost 4
nosedive.
games the rest of the way.
Jeez.
So they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-4 the rest of the way after the 4-0 start. His touchdown to interception the rest of the way was 6 touchdowns, 10 picks. The rest of the way. Now he's got some big rushing totals in there. He's got 185 against LSU and a big win over them. But he was 12 of 18 for 109, ran for 185. In the Auburn game, in the Iron Bowl game, no touchdowns. He did run for 104 and 3 touchdowns. So like I said, he kind of became like a one-man wing T for them, running the ball and then throwing minimally off of that compared to the tour de force game against Georgia.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
he did not throw a touchdown pass in 4 of the last 6 games
I know.
And he threw 5 picks in the last 3 games.
Well,
Oklahoma, Auburn, Michigan.
His only multiple touchdown throwing game the second half of the last 2/3 of the season was against Mercer.
Yeah.
He threw 2 against Mercer.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else.
Take Mercer out of it and just have it be SEC or
Michigan in the bowl.
Michigan in the bowl game. And it is starting after that.
Well, it's 4 touchdowns, 10 picks.
After the Georgia game, 4 touchdowns, 10 picks.
Yeah, and they lost 4 of those games. They went 4-4 in that stretch at Alabama. So that's it. Other good news of the day, Myles Garrett voted the Sporting News 2024 Defensive Player of the Year, voted on by the players. How do they get that done? How does his players get to – how does Sporting News hook up with the NFLPA?
I don't know, but that's also not the one that counts, right? The one that counts is the AP.
Yeah.
I mean, they all count, but –
yeah. But the one that goes down to, like, how many times Defensive Player of the Year is the AP. I wonder how they get the coaches – I wonder how they get the players to participate in that at the Sporting News.
I don't know. How they get them, how many actually do part, what percent, I don't know. He's very deserving. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, certainly. And then the NFL Honors is when they'll do the other one, right? Is that the plan? NFL Honors, is that the Friday or Saturday before the Super Bowl?
Yep, exactly.
All right, there you go. All right, anything else? Any other Senior Bowl information? Anything else you want to get to?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think none of the quarterbacks have really impressed. People have, from like a later, just kind of a toolsy prospect, but that has not necessarily been great. Some people feel like, Dylan Gabriel for a Shanahan, like whether Dylan Gabriel go to the Niners, for example, could go to the Dolphins, could be a backup in those type of systems. Tyler Show,
yeah, he was at Purdue and then followed Brom to Louisville.
So it could be like a late pick with a big arm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He followed Brom, and that system is one that's similar. Like his adjustment won't be much.
He's Mel Kiper's 10th best quarterback in this draft.
Where's Dart? 3rd?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. But
I'm curious about Dart because I definitely like.
You're going to do this.
I know, but his stats. You brought it up. We know it. 19 of his 29 touchdowns, or 9 of his. 19 of the 29 touchdowns came in 4 games.
Yeah, against bad teams.
Yeah, Arkansas was the only one that he that he really lit up. But I'm curious to just watch him because sometimes that is what it is. But he'll be interesting. We'll see. I mean, you're again number 2. Great position to certainly help this football team turn around quickly. We know it's possible. And one of the things I was trying to say was, people look at it last year, and we were there. It wasn't like, and I know he won the Heisman, but it wasn't like, dude, Jaden Daniels is going to change a team's fortunes.
Dude, there wasn't anybody over there who was like, I don't know, the Bears ought to think about this, really.
No.
Nobody. It was like Caleb Williams.
Period.
And then May and Daniel. Big gap.
Yep.
You just don't know. To answer your question on the quarterback rankings, Kiper has Shedeur number 1, Cam Ward 2, Jackson Dart 3, Milroe 4, Kyle McCord 5, Will Howard 6, Quinn Ewers 7, Dylan Gabriel 8, Curtis Rourke 9, Tyler Show 10. So that is the.
I just updated that. I want to say like 6 days ago.
Yeah, it's brand new. Yeah.
So it is so interesting to me how when you look at one of the things. So he loves Shedeur.
He has Shedeur 4th overall in his total draft breakdown. Yeah. Cam 5th. So the idea that anyone would reach for either one of them at 1 or 2, this is not a reach. It's not like he's got Shedeur the 48th prospect.
Correct.
Or Cam the 27th. Like they're
right.
4 and 5 overall.
Right. And that doesn't mean that's on our board.
No, but that's his.
But yes.
He has Mason Graham 3rd on his board, Abdul Carter 1st on his board, and Abdul Carter 2nd, Travis Hunter 1st. That's Kiper's board.
Okay.
As it stands right now.
So here's the thing. Let's just take Shedeur as an example. You look at a Pat Shurmur. Mm-hmm. Where was he in 16, 17, and 18? Mm-hmm. Or 16 and 17, I'm sorry.
Minnesota, wouldn't he?
Minnesota Vikings. Who was with the Minnesota Vikings then? Kevin Stefanski. In fact, he was the offensive coordinator in 2017. I'm pretty sure Kevin would have been the quarterback's coach at that time. I could be wrong. That could be before he became quarterback coach. But let's see, 2017. Yes, he was the quarterback's coach. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but the quarterback's coach and the OC work very closely.
Yep.
Because the quarterback is obviously the key to everything. What was Pat Shurmur's role last year?
He was the offensive coordinator of the Colorado Buffaloes. Actually came in the middle of the previous year. There was the guy who was the coach at Kent State or Akron?
Kent State.
Yeah, who they hired him. Jason Candle?
I don't know. He had some big credentials, and
He was there in 23 as the analyst and then became the offensive coordinator in the middle of the season, to your
Candle's
point.
at Toledo. Shurmur came in. He was
Sean Lewis was there.
Sean Lewis, that's it. They brought in Sean Lewis. He's one of the bright offensive minds. Dion brought him in from Kent State, and so he goes out there, and then they get rid of him halfway through, and Shurmur takes over play calling, becomes the offensive coordinator. So the second half of last year and all of this year, Shedeur's offensive coordinator was Pat Shurmur,
who has a great relationship with Kevin Stefanski. Now, we've also seen, and I love how people find these things, but of unbelievable kind of anecdote from Dion. I don't know if you've seen this video talking about the Super Bowl in which he was a 49er and they beat the Chargers. And he's talking about it's a blowout. So he goes to George Seifert and he says, get Billy in there.
No.
Get Billy in there. Let's give him some time.
Yeah.
Billy is, of course, Bill Musgrave.
Of course, yeah.
Our quarterback's coach. So in terms of will we have knowledge or familiarity, yes. That's not to say that means we're going to have a very informed opinion one way or the other. As informed as can be. Because
the most informed, I think you could argue.
Bill Musgrave, who was the backup to, I forget that guy's name, wasn't that good, the starter.
He had a big monkey on his back.
Yeah, something very
was always inhibiting him. And
he's a Hall of Famer.
Unable to
just
ever
throwing
play
it out there.
to
Joe,
full
well,
potential.
no, it wasn't Joe Montana, Gibby. It wasn't Joe Montana.
I know.
It was a big
besmirching
monkey.
Joe Montana, the guy that followed up Joe that also continued the winning ways
Gary
of the 49er
Plummer,
tradition.
Something like that. Anyhow,
Elvis Gerbach.
Anyhow, Steve
Bono in the mix.
Oh, man. Wow. So Musgrave would stay after practice. Dion wanted to make sure if a ball ever was near him, he caught it and would throw him. He said over the course of the season, thousands of passes after practice. So Musgrave and Dion actually became very good friends, and that's why Dion went to Seifert, had him put in, and Musgrave on a 3rd and 25 said you can call whatever you want, and wanted to complete a pass in the Super Bowl. And so on a 3rd and 25, he was able to complete like a 6-yard pass or whatever. So he's completed a pass in the Super Bowl.
That's cool. Yeah.
So in terms of what will be known about Shedeur from this organization, you will have such a background on him of just not only personal environment, but then literally the guy who was his offensive coordinator. We're going to have as good a read on him as we could have on anybody in this draft. Now, if it turns out that the Browns don't take Shedeur, that they decide with all this information it's not for him, and then Tom Brady takes him, I think that'll be fair to have a lot of people say, what
the heck, man?
Yes. Now, it's also true that the greats are not always the best talent evaluators.
No.
And I think it is very fair if we were to go to another sport, basketball. I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan has had more than his fair share of whiffs. Even Larry, the legend, struggled with that. He was best when he was coaching a very veteran team of Indiana Pacers. I think we will have all the information we could need. There are a lot of people that absolutely love Cam Ward as well, and you heard where you had Mel Kiper there. If toughness, accuracy, and decision making are kind of the 3 traits that you list, are that's Shedeur's calling card.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yep.
Sign me up right now. That's the position, and I'm pretty sure if we went back, you had Tommy Reese in here.
Yeah.
And I got a chance. I talked to him in the cafe the other day. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a dry. Like a dry.
I think that's fair. I think, yeah. I think that's very fair. Yeah.
But, when he spoke in his press, that's basically those were the key things. So I know I think there's a lot of fear. Well, what if the quarterback's not the best player available?
But what if they are?
Exactly. People are looking at it the wrong way.
You're looking at it the wrong way, folks. You're looking at it from the perspective of, well, what if we blow it? Let's just take what's safe. That's not the NFL.
Well,
and there is no safe.
You're not
By the way,
win.
there is no safe.
What do you want to be?
What do you want to be?
What do you want to be? Yeah. If you're a fan base, and by the way, this is probably a lot of fun for a while, that wants to go 10-7, 9-8 every year, and get bounced in the first round of playoffs. Maybe you win a playoff game.
But never go into the playoffs going, let's go win it.
Correct.
Never.
Correct.
Never walk into the playoffs going, we got a shot.
Correct. By the way, the guy just up the road here was at 18 straight winning seasons. They want to run him out of that town.
Yeah, they do.
Because we've run a playoff game more recently than they have.
Yep.
You go back to the Marvin Lewis days in Cincinnati. Multiple AFC North titles. Mm-hmm. 0 postseason wins.
That's right.
With Andy Dalton. So, and Andy Dalton was in some ways the reason they won, but also the reason that they didn't win.
Yep.
Until you get that dude, I think it is incumbent upon the organization, any organization in the NFL. And really, it's wild. There aren't that many teams in this position. Arizona, no. Atlanta, no. Going alphabetically. Baltimore, no. Buffalo, no. Carolina, no. Chicago, no. Cincinnati, no. Us, yes. Dallas, no. Denver, no. Detroit, no. Green Bay, no. Houston, no. Indianapolis, I'll say yes. Jacksonville, no. Kansas City, no. So that's, so far we've got 2.
2. And
Raiders, yes. Chargers, no. Rams, no. Although they probably have to think about succession planning, but that's different. Miami, no. They need to get a real backup. Vikings have J.J. McCarthy, so I wouldn't say that they would be a yes.
Yeah, they're a no.
New England's a no. New Orleans is a yes. Giants is a yes. Jets is a yes. Eagles, no. Steelers is a yes. Niners, no. Seattle.
They're what you just described. They're perpetually what you described. 9
and so is Tampa. But
yeah,
I mean, I'd put question marks on both of those. Tennessee, yes. Washington, no. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 32 teams.
Yeah.
Those 8 teams should have the sole purpose of their football operation should be to take us off of this 8 of 32 list.
That's the job.
That's it. And until we are off of this list, nothing matters. Mm-mm. And you could maybe say Seattle, Tampa could ultimately be in that group. The Rams will at some point be in that group.
Yeah.
But that's going to change. You're going to have people come in, people go, and some of these teams that fully believe in a few years, perhaps you're like, no, we don't believe in this guy anymore, and now you're in that list. But you've got to try to get yourself off that list. That has to be the overarching, and that is why, by the way, the Browns did make the trade that they made a few years ago.
Yeah.
It has not worked out
the
way that anybody would have hoped or expected. But that's why you did it, because until you get off that list, you are not a serious operation or a serious threat, I would say, to win a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter how good your defense is. By the way, our skill position needs upgrading as well, but it doesn't matter how good any of that stuff is until you have that guy.
Yep.
And I think that's where we're at. And I think it's going to be a long 3 months, folks. It's 3 months. I'm pretty sure the draft starts, if I'm not mistaken, 3 months from tonight.
Is it really?
No?
Like April? Is it
No, it's like 24th, 25th, 26th.
So it could be 12 weeks from today.
12 weeks from today, something like that.
Because you got January's 31 days.
Yeah,
March.
because you got to be that Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
12 weeks. Yeah. There you go. That's where you stand. Those are your
Where's
hot
Ashby? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What I do.
Those are your hot topics. They're presented by UH, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, coming up next, Andrew Berry with Andrew Siciliano from down in Mobile. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. We're off and running on a Thursday edition, Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now we head back to Mobile. Our play-by-play voice, Andrew Siciliano, sitting down with the GM, Andrew Berry.
We are down here in Mobile, Alabama.
You're down.
76th Reese's Senior Bowl, the man who has, at least for now, 12 picks coming up in the draft, including number 2, including number 33, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. Andrew Berry, how is Mobile treating you?
Beautiful sunny Mobile so far. We got some good weather this year, so I'm always happy when that happens.
So you could sit in the stands, you could sit at the 50-yard line and watch. We just finished up day one, well, halfway through day one of practice. Jacques Césaire coaching the defense here. What's your Senior Bowl process like sitting there in the stands?
So usually for the live exposure, there are so many prospects that are here down here in Mobile that for the live exposure, you're really just focused on a handful of guys. And they may be players that you didn't get a chance to go out and see live during the fall. They may be at priority positions. They may be guys that are from a small school that you want to see them against a high level of competition. So each practice I'll go into with maybe 5 or 6 guys that I really specifically want to focus on and really watch them throughout the day before going over the film in the evening.
How important is it to see, for example, you mentioned a small school guy against maybe an SEC guy or a Big Ten guy, to see when the level of competition goes up, how they can do in these one-on-one drills?
It's very important. It's a big piece of it, especially for small school guys who are productive. Maybe they didn't play NFL caliber talent. You're also able to kind of calibrate what we call their physical tools, against a higher level of competition, and it just gives you a little bit more confidence in the eval that they can make the translation from a smaller school to competition at the NFL level.
And you're not the only one here, obviously. Glenn is here, Kat is here, Kevin is here, Jacques is here, Bubba is here. Whole Browns contingent down here, and the players realize, I think they do, that this entire week is kind of a job interview. They might be walking down the street, they might be getting coffee, and someone's hanging behind them. How do I interact with the barista? How do I talk to fans who may want an autograph on the street? How much of that is part of your evaluation, both overtly or maybe even covertly?
No, it is a big part, and we're fortunate to have Jockin as a defensive coordinator on one team and Bubba as the head coach on the other team, because we get to see the on-field stuff, we get to see them during the interview process, but those are individuals that get to see how they prepare in the meeting room, how they interact with their teammates, how they treat logistics and support staff people when they don't think anybody is watching. And to have that insight is incredibly valuable. We have a feel for these guys coming into this process just because of what we hear from the schools, but it's nice to see them interact in a professional environment to really project how they'll be in your building.
How valuable is specifically the coaching intelligence? Like, for example, Bubba as a head coach, Jacques as a DC. Jordan Thomas here as well. Obviously, he's moving on to another job, but you have your guys actually working with the players every day.
It's excellent for us. We encourage our guys to coach these all-star games as much as they can. It's great professional development for our coaches, but it also does give us a fair amount of intel, whether it's at the East-West Shrine game, whether it's at the Senior Bowl like we're here this week, because you do get a view and a perspective on these guys that you otherwise would not have.
When you look at, let's just say quarterbacks, I asked Kevin this before, Tommy Reese spoke about it last week on the podium as well. What does Andrew Berry look for in a quarterback? Maybe the 2 most important things in your evaluation.
Yeah, I think the thing is just high level, it's about if the player can get you to 1st and 10, right? Quarterbacks make their money in 3rd down, gotta have it, 2-minute red zone situations, and can they get you to 1st and 10? And the way that, let's say Peyton Manning used to do that is a lot different than maybe how Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson does it. And so for me, there's not a particular archetype or style of player, but one thing that is really important at the quarterback position is decision making. That's a player who's going to make 50, 60, sometimes 70 decisions a game, that aren't necessarily all just pass plays, and they've got to be a sound decision maker. Obviously we have a bias towards guys who are naturally accurate with the football. But outside of those 2 things, whether they're runners, whether they're pocket guys, that type of thing, that doesn't matter as much as long as they can consistently get the team to 1st and 10.
When you're down there on the field, you can see the way the ball comes out of a quarterback's hand here. You can see how much juice he's truly got. But he's working with receivers that he hasn't really thrown with. So you're looking for accuracy, but is it do you have to take it with a grain of salt because maybe they're not on the same page?
It's a great question, Andrew. So from my perspective, coming into this, you have the whole fall, really multiple years of exposure. So that piece is maybe a little bit less of a concern in this setting, this live exposure. If you don't see a quarterback in person, then seeing how the ball does jump off their hand and their arm strength is a little bit of a better assessment live. And then really just how they learn, teach, and kind of ingest information with a new system. That's a little bit more important than this session than them hitting every throw.
Years ago, or actually 4 years, I've always heard, who's the alpha? Like in the quarterback room, you got Josh Allen down here, Daniel Jones down here, Justin Herbert down here, all these great quarterbacks. Baker was down here at 18. Who's the alpha? Is that important to you?
I'd say leadership in general is important, but I think perhaps how people throw the term around alpha, they usually just mean someone who's loud. Leadership comes in many different forms, and whether you're an influencer like Justin Herbert, or whether you're fired up like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, as long as you get people to follow you, it doesn't matter the way that they do it.
Hand size, what do you got? is hand size important to you?
I'd say this: hand size is not important to us. It's really more, do they protect the football? I don't care if a guy has big hands if they fumble the ball all the time, just like I don't care if a guy has small hands if they protect it all the time. So I think, at least from my perspective, that gets overblown.
Jalen Milroe said he's a Ravens fan. Does that bother you?
Does not bother me. We all have our childhood affinities. I was a Cowboys fan growing up. I'm sure he'll be the biggest fan of whatever team takes him in the spring.
Which is obviously the right answer. And along those lines, obviously, Tommy has spoken openly about how rewarding 2023 was with him and Jalen and the journey they went on in Tuscaloosa. You have some insight, obviously, on Cam Ward as well. Glenn Cook knows everyone at Miami. How much do you lean on those people? Pat Shurmur, obviously, Kevin worked with him, is in Colorado. How valuable are those assets?
It is. We leverage every part of our network, and not just with the quarterbacks, but for any prospect. And quite honestly, for any draft class that we've had, we've tried to leverage our relationships within our building to make sure we have as much insight on these individuals as people before we bring them in.
Okay, and finally, I asked Kevin what I should ask you. He said, ask Andrew about the time you guys first met here in Mobile. And I said, it must be like, every other coach down here trying to get a job was in a bar. He's like, no, clearly it was not in a bar. So tell the story.
Yeah, so it was, I think it was 2010. It was outside of the Battle House. I was a scouting assistant. He was like a QC coach. And it was actually Leslie Frazier who introduced the two of us and figured that we would get along. I don't think either of us anticipated that 10 years later that we would be working together as head coach and GM, but Leslie probably had the foresight. So it's a pretty cool story.
Was it a quick handshake? Did you get coffee?
No, it was more of just kind of like the casual meet and greet. But I don't think either of us would have guessed that the relationship would be as strong as it is at this point.
And here we are. The next step, last thing, after Mobile, next step for you is
so the next step, we'll actually start our draft meetings next Wednesday. So we'll get to the end of the week, have maybe a day or two to catch our breath, get organized, and then really next Wednesday we'll start grinding through all the players that we have as draftable and all the players that are going through the combine, and really put together our first real preliminary board.
The draft, as Jim Nagy says, starts in Mobile. Enjoy your oysters and barbecue and safe travels, and see you down the road.
Appreciate it, Andrew.
All right, you got it. Andrew Berry, everybody.
All right, there you go. AB, AS, Senior Bowl, Mobile. Have you been to Mobile?
No.
Been through.
Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, not Mobile to my knowledge.
Gibbe's been there. He did a month one night in Mobile.
Little GMAC Bowl. BG Memphis.
Oh, baby. I think they're the originators of Mardi Gras, though. I want to say Mobile.
There's
I have
a big
that right.
Parade. They've got a whole big setup here, Mardi Gras style.
I think I could be right. I say that relatively confidently.
Sure.
That maybe I heard that once.
I think we played the 27th or something. It was like 2 days after Christmas. So we were not at the Mardi Gras point yet, and it was not a pleasurable experience.
Not great.
No.
Not great.
No, not great.
All right. We'll go around the league coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The new Rumpke Recycling Resource Center helps feed the circular economy by supplying Ohio companies and others in the Midwest with the material they need to put what you place in your bins to good use. To learn more about the facility and how you can recycle more, visit rumpke.com today. Time to go around the league, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. Steve Wilkes has reportedly been named the defensive coordinator of the New York Jets, joining Aaron Glenn.
Former DC of the Niners, former DC of the Browns.
He was here 1 year. Was that the
Yes.
Freddie year?
I'm
We
looking
have
it up
Steve
right now.
here in the Freddie year.
That would make sense to me.
Was he the DC that year?
Steve Wilkes.
Because Greg would have been the year before.
Carolina DC in 17, Arizona head coach in 18, Browns DC in 19, Carolina head coach and DC in
Interim then.
in 20, Niners DC in 23, and now he will be the DC. He was 12 games. He was the interim head coach of the Panthers.
So 19's Freddie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Raiders will retain Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator. Very good job out of them, I guess. Matt Stafford plans to return and play in 2025, though his future of the Rams is, quote, up in the air, and a deal likely needs to be worked out, per Ian Rappaport. I got news for you. It's going to get worked out. It's going to be just fine. They don't have anywhere else to go with him. They don't have any other quarterback to go with.
They don't have an early pick in the draft.
No, and
they went to the playoffs.
Yeah, so no, Matt Stafford will be back.
I would think so.
Yeah. You know, NBC, he's into these cards or whatever. I think I told you this. He's like selling his cards now online.
Okay.
He's made pretty good money doing it.
Okay.
He found a Stafford card in the back of a binder that was like some sort of a numbered hometown something.
Okay.
It's like $1,000 card.
What?
Yeah. He sold it.
Wow.
Yeah. Wild.
You got to pay for
in
your
the
own
back.
vacation, son.
Yeah, I go, where's my cut? I'm sure I bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's like a 63% chance he stole it from one of his two brothers. It's in play.
It is in play.
Bootsy was up there with him, and he was like, Dad, I'm trading cards with Paid. I'm like, I wouldn't recommend that if I were you. No, it's good. It's good. Uh-huh.
He's going to
Yeah.
take you to the cleaner.
Sure, that's the way that's going to go. The Eagles have opened their practice window for defensive end Brandon Graham, allowing him to practice with the team before the Super Bowl, per Ian Rappaport. Bill Belichick suggests that the Lombardi Trophy should be renamed the Brady Trophy. He's trying to mend all fences, is what he's going for. This was on the Let's Go podcast, which is Tom's podcast, right? That Jim Gray does?
Jim Gray.
Yeah. So here is that audio.
Players win games. You can't win games without good players. I don't care who the coach is. It's impossible. You can't win without good players. I found out when I had Taylor and Banks and Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, all those guys at the Giants, and same thing, when we got good at Cleveland and then at New England. I mean, it's Brady, it's McGinnis, it's Vrabel, those are the guys that won the games. Man, I didn't make any tackles. I didn't make any kicks. That was Vinatieri that made that kick in 4 inches of snow. You got to have good players.
They don't name it the Star Trophy. It's named the Lombardi Trophy.
Maybe they should name it the Brady Trophy. He won 7 of them.
He's trying to make things right. Good for him.
Yeah. I still find it hard to believe that he's going to coach in college. It's still hard for me to get my head around.
It's funny. I talked about him a little bit this morning. I had Paul Feinbaum on, and we were talking about it. Everything that, this kind of encapsulates it. So he had a meeting last week with one of the top quarterbacks in 2026. So he took a photo. In the background, now he's at North Carolina, which is an ACC school. They take a picture with the kid, and in the background is actually Paul Feinbaum on television on the SEC network. That's one of those little things that if you were Ohio State and you're taking a picture with a prospect, you would not have the SEC network on in the background of the photo. You'd make sure that there was,
Buckeyes.
Yeah,
stuff.
or something. Something, not that. So, sure enough, Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator at Ohio State, met with the same quarterback out of Nashville this week and took a picture. And as you can imagine, there is no Paul Feinbaum behind his photograph. And it kind of just speaks to just how, when you listen to him talk, just how it's a little bit like Urban going to the NFL. Like, you just have no idea what's been going on here. And the idea that he thought that him and Lombardi were going to run it like a feeder system to the NFL, quite literally, 75 big-time college football programs do that? That's what they all do. Everybody in Power 5 does that, or now Power 4. They all do it. They're all doing the same thing. I mean, he's like, we're going to have a specific dorms, and we're going to have a specific training tail and nutrition. They all do that.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they really thought that they were like, and even like folks who normally talk about the NFL, like I heard Simmons talk about this on his podcast who took the job. Like, I thought that was really smart. Like, treat college players like NFL players. I'm like, dude, for 20 years. I mean, Florida State in 2001, when I got there, was doing that. Separate training table, separate nutrition. That's 20-some years ago.
Yes.
Like, so it's been done, is the reality of it.
By the way,
go ahead.
I don't know if this has come across yours or if you guys have seen this, but there's some not great NFL news.
I haven't. Go ahead.
This is from the Baltimore Banner.
All right.
Which is a media company. They have just posted this, and it is making the rounds all over NFL Twitter. That Ravens.
Are we easy? Are we sure? Like I know. I
haven't seen any of the big dogs roll with it yet.
Right. We'll wait. That's fine. Lock and Four retweeted it. That's how I saw it just now from 22 minutes ago. All right, we can wait.
In the old days, the X, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Or the check.
The check was a let's go. Yeah. I mean,
I can't tell you from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN, the Cowboys are considering former Browns OC Ken Dorsey for their OC position. Interview to be determined, logistics being discussed.
With Schottenheimer. Do they have any overlap anywhere?
The G-Man is looking.
Probably. Brian's been all over the place. Ken's been all over the place, both as a player and as a coach. I'm sure there's somewhere along the line that they cross paths. Couple other here real quickly. Cam Newton says he wouldn't trade his NFL MVP for a Super Bowl ring.
That is nuts to me. To say that out loud.
His reasoning for it was he did his job at the highest level you could do it. That's the way that he described it. And that's why he said
would he have rather maybe done his job at the highest level he could do it, not have won the MVP that year, even though he was the best he could be and his team won the Super Bowl?
I guess not.
I mean, I know Lamar Jackson would, without question, say he would trade his 2 MVPs for a Super Bowl.
For a Super Bowl, yeah.
Right now.
Absolutely.
That is a weird thing to say.
It is. But it's also something that you say when you're trying to find footing in a business that's tricky in terms of being a pundit. Like right now he's on the First Take games from time to time with Stephen A. Like he's kind of getting out there in that. I think sometimes you say things to get attention so that people are more aware that you're doing it, as if his hats wouldn't be enough. Those are choices, man.
He's doing it quite a bit to get
He's got a lot
attention.
going on.
He's made a bunch of controversial comments.
He has. The Commanders are planning to see some small adjustments to their uniforms per Bram Weinstein, our buddy. Bram. Yeah.
Well, I wonder what the
just wear what you used to wear, man.
What is this, 3rd grade?
Wear what they used to wear. That's it. If you can't have the Indian chief on the side of the helmet, then go with a running W or an R, and away you go.
Well, I saw this from my father, so
okay, grain of salt has been taken.
Thank you. The family of the Blackfoot.
Blackie Wetzel is the Blackfeet Indian who designed
that they're suing
original,
to get it brought back.
Well, they wanted it from Snyder so that he's a Montana guy. I knew his son nephew Donnie.
Right, I knew you were.
And they wanted to bring it back so that they could use it because it's his original art, and he gave it to I think it's Marshall before Jack Kent Cooke owned the Redskins. I can't remember. I don't know that exactly, the timeline of it all. But they wanted to use it back in Montana and use it and bring it back. And there's a great deal of pride in the Blackfeet community for this image. It's a regal chief. It was never the
Chief
image.
Whitecalf.
It was never the image that was the problem. It was the name.
Yep.
That was always the problem. So I don't know if they could ever do that again. I think they could if they went Washington football team and just had that be on the helmet. I think you could do that.
Yep.
Because it's pretty damn dignified, and it's everything that you'd want. I mean, you think about the Blackhawks and Florida State Seminoles and all of that. The one thing that folks want in that, the Native American people want, is they want it done with respect, and they want it in a way of honor and homage, and I think that would do that. If they could do that, if they go back to Washington football team and then do that, I think you got a chance. So
the
I'd love
Native
to see
American Guardians Association sued the Washington Commanders in September of 23 to restore the team's name and logo to the Redskins. The lawsuit claims the Commanders and other defendants defamed NAGA and suppressed Native American history. They're seeking significant damages and a seat at the table to share that. And the family in December, they're saying that the logo on the helmet is an actual person, Chief Whitecalf, and the family wants it also. They want it back. They want the logo back on the helmets, but they also want the logo for themselves.
Yeah. So we'll see. Dave Spadaro, Eagles. How did they get here? Trying to win their second Super Bowl in a decade. He will join us coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports winning partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Time to head out on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is the Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, joining us there. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time. Back in the Super Bowl are the Birds. You've been around for a while over there, buddy. This run of excellence that they've been a part of going a decade or so, and it just feels like they get in it bad at this thing a lot. What have been some of the things that that you've seen firsthand that other organizations could try to mimic in terms of the sustained success that organization has had?
Well, I mean, from a player standpoint, they have a really good plan for succession. You know, this team last year lost, after the season, lost Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, and a lot of people were like, well, how do you move on without those two guys? Two of the best leaders and players, but the Eagles have a succession plan, and they had drafted Cam Jurgens a couple of years prior. They drafted Jalen Carter last season. They felt that those two players were ready to step into more expanded roles, and here we are. You know, Jalen Carter has been a dominant player at defensive tackle. Cam Jurgens, a Pro Bowl center. Being in concert with your personnel department when you're acquiring personnel. The way that Howie Roseman kind of identified some things in, for example, Zach Bond, and saw some traits that might make him a player the Eagles would be interested in, and then having the defensive coordinator Vic Fangio go, hey, you know, I can use this guy. I mean, I might change his position, but I figure I can use him. And boom, here is Zach Bond as an All-Pro Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Kind of not sticking to the same script. You know, the Eagles never really invested in running backs, and then Saquon Barkley's on the market. Well, the market seems that the salary cap's gone way up. We're going to go out of our boundary a little bit and sign Saquon Barkley. He could be a difference maker for the offense. And what does he do? 2,000 yards rushing. You know, identify a coach. Jeffrey Lurie, every single one of his coaches has been in the playoffs. Every single one. From Andy Reid on. From Ray Rhodes on. Ray Rhodes, Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. So, I mean, that's some examples. I mean, I that the Eagles have just, and by the way, in the Andy Reid years, this team went to the NFC Championship game 5 times in 8 seasons, won Super Bowl, did not win. Frustrating time for Eagles fans, but still, to get to that Final Four is quite an accomplishment. So Jeffrey Lurie's just been an owner who has a really good eye for identifying the right person to lead the organization, and then, you know, stability at general manager with Howie, and he's been one of the best here, and that's why the Eagles are where they are.
You talked about Saquon Barkley and what he has meant to this team to be able to hop over in division, 2,283 scrimmage yards, 15 touchdowns, and really kind of change their identity, right? I mean, and that probably took some adjustment. I know at times A.J. Brown wasn't as happy. Devontae Smith's numbers were down a little bit. How have they been able to kind of realize we're here to win and get over kind of maybe some of those personal things and row in the same direction?
Yeah, I think both of them have gotten their contracts, and that helps, right?
Sure.
And they've got a taste. They've gotten a taste of it. You know, since Devontae's been here, they've made the playoffs. Since AJ's been here, 3 seasons, 2 Super Bowls. Nice little fat 4-year contract or whatever 3-year contract. It really helps. And the Eagles, the kind of the demarcation point of the season, Eagles start out 2-2. They're -6 in the giveaway, in the turnover margin. And by the way, the other kind of foundational element to the Eagles from a football standpoint is win the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And that is something that Andy Reid taught this organization, and they have not deviated from that at all. As boring as it is on draft weekend, load up on your offensive line, load up on your D-line. Yeah, I mean, so after 4 games, the Eagles were 2-2, -6 in turnovers, and came out after the bye week, ugly win against Cleveland. But that sparked things, and they promoted one of their rookies, Cooper DeJean, into the starting lineup at cornerback, along with Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper taking over the nickel role. And they just got better and better, and it helped a little bit, you know, playing Cleveland, whose offense was not good with Deshaun Watson, and then the Giants with Daniel Jones, gave the Eagles defense time to figure itself out. And so they really took the mantle defensively, and then offensively, don't turn the ball over. Score touchdowns in the red zone. Lean on the running game. I think every player in the league ultimately wants to win, and those players understood that it may be nice to get some catches and some scores and some numbers, but it sure feels better to win.
Dave, this one, we've seen this one. We just saw it a couple of years ago, these two teams playing in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts' second trip back. What have you seen from him as his career has progressed, and what does Philly need from him a week from Sunday to cash in at the ultimate prize?
Yeah, another selfless player who, the Eagles threw the ball a lot more back in 22, and that Super Bowl performance in 57 was great from Jalen Hurts, but he did lose a fumble off his foot that the Chiefs returned for a touchdown, and they scored end of the first half, field goal instead of a touchdown. Early in the second half, field goal instead of a touchdown, and then just couldn't put points on the board until the very end of the game. So he's a more mature guy. He's definitely had excellent, knock on wood, ball security this season after that slow start. He's been criticized a lot. Like, this guy is just where are the numbers, and you hear all the ratings and the rankings of the quarterbacks, and his name's not mentioned. And yet the guy just wins games. And we saw the very best of Jalen late in the regular season against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Eagles go to Washington. He gets a concussion, out for 2.5 games, comes back, slow start to the playoffs against Green Bay and the Rams, and then really turned it on against the Commanders this past weekend. So, he's a resilient guy. He can beat you in a lot of different ways, and at the end of the day, it is about winning. And I think what's interesting about a guy like Jalen is the loss to the Chiefs and the confetti moments where he stood and watched the Kansas City Chiefs celebrate is his screensaver on his cell phone.
Oh, wow.
And that is kind of his motivation every day to get back and to win. And we don't see emotion from Jalen Hurts. He's really, not a quote machine in any way. I really feel like should the Eagles win the Super Bowl, we will see an outpouring of just incredibly bottled up happiness from Jalen, because his whole thing is, again, in concert with what the Eagles believe, I don't care, I just want to win games. So if it doesn't satisfy your fantasy football needs, which, by the way, it should because he gets a lot of touchdowns on the ground, then who cares? So all he wants to do is win, and he will need to play a great game on Sunday. He will need to play an error-free game. He will need to be ready, as the Eagles will need to be ready, for everything and anything that they can't even think of, because Andy Reid offensively, special teams, Steve Spagnuolo defensively, they will throw something that you have never even thought of at the Philadelphia Eagles, whether that's a blitz, whether that's a personnel usage, whether that's a Travis Kelce catch and pitch, whatever it is, trick play, the Chiefs will bring it out, and the Eagles must be prepared.
By the way, you mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I was just looking at I don't know if he gets enough credit for how good he has been in the postseason. 5-3 is the record. He has not thrown, 8 playoff games. He has not thrown an interception since his playoff debut back in 2021, so 7 straight games without an interception. He has 1 fumble lost in those 7 games, so 3 turnovers total in 8 playoff games and 17 combined touchdowns, 8 passing, 9 rushing. I mean, you talk about mistake-free, 6 of his 8 playoff games in his career, he has not turned the football over. He has done that. He is going to give them an opportunity. One thing that he does, and you mentioned he runs those in, it's because, and people thought maybe it was going to end with Kelce going, they start 1st and 9 every drive. Are you surprised that the tush-push has remained as unstoppable this year as it had been before? And that really nobody else can do it. It is uniquely Philly's ability to do this that is a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I remember when they drafted Cam Jurgens, second round, 2021 or 2022, I went into the offensive line coach, his room to watch tape, and it was like watching Jason Kelce. And Cam Jurgens is good enough that he didn't play as a rookie very much. He goes out and he gets a starting job, makes himself a starting right guard in year number 2, which is really hard to do, and kind of reinvented himself, played well last year, then moved back to his natural position, and has been really terrific, Pro Bowl player. So not surprised there. And then adding a freakishly sized Mekhi Becton, who was a right tackle for the most part in New York with the Jets, playing him at right guard. I mean, the Eagles are big up front, and they love the the challenge of being more physical than the defense. And Jalen's a really strong guy with strong legs. He squatted 600 pounds in college, and I mean, he's a beast. So I'm not surprised. I think that Kansas City will be difficult to do that against. They're very good inside. They're very physical. So, but we'll see. I mean, look, you're right, and they start 1st and 9, and they have 3 downs to do it because they go for it on 4th down. And I think in this game you're going to have to go for it on 4th down a lot against the Kansas City Chiefs and have success. You cannot give you got to put 2 scores between yourself and Patrick Mahomes in the last 2 minutes of the game, or you just can't breathe. Because if the guy, if he gets the ball last, as they happened two Super Bowls ago, Patrick Mahomes does it and wins it, and the Chiefs are 17 straight wins in 1-possession games. It is remarkable.
Yeah, it truly is, and that's the best way I've heard somebody put it. 2 scores between you and Mahomes with 2 minutes to go, and then you feel like you're okay. That's kind of where it's at, which is pretty ridiculous. Dave, how is Andy Reid? How do the Eagles fans feel about Andy Reid?
Old story, old news. Thankful, yada yada yada. But I mean, it's over.
Yeah,
like he already broke the Eagles fans' hearts once, and so much credit to him, the best coach that we've seen in the modern day. I know Bill Belichick won all the Super Bowls, and maybe there's arguments to be made there for sure. But like Andy did it with 2 different teams, didn't win the Super Bowl here, but 14 very very successful seasons, and really took the Eagles, a franchise that was kind of going nowhere, 0 Super Bowl appearances, and put the Eagles on the map. So since 1980, they hadn't been to the Super Bowl. So Andy's a great coach, but there's nothing. I think the Eagles fans are in agreement with much of America. We're sick and tired of Andy Reid. We're sick and tired of Travis Kelce. We're sick and tired of every commercial with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Jealousy, you want to call it jealousy? Sure. But done with them. And so let's end the empire. Don't complain about the referees. If you complain about the referees, you've lost the battle. Just go out and beat them. Don't make mistakes. Don't miss kicks. Don't drop passes. Don't miss tackles. Don't commit penalties. Play your best game and beat Kansas City. And that's what it takes. This is not a vintage Chiefs team, but this is a Chiefs team that it is so hard to beat the champion, and that is the task for the Philadelphia Eagles.
So that's it. So what you just described, Dave, that's play completely clean, and then you go. That's kind of the recipe here, right? In terms of if they're going to win,
and that's what the Eagles have done.
Yeah.
They went from -6 in turnover margin after 4 games to +11 by the end of the season, and in the 3 playoff games they're +10, 0 giveaways and 10 takeaways. And so, I mean, you do that. If the Eagles play the way they played against Washington on Sunday, I just don't see anybody beating them. I mean, they were terrific defensively. They took the ball away offensive on special temes. They made big kickoff returns on special teams. The offense, play 1 from scrimmage. Saquon Barkley goes 60 yards. They were deadly in the passing game. They had variety in play calling. They were great, 7 of 7 in the red zone. I mean, they do that. The Lombardi Trophy's coming to Philly.
Dave, thanks for your time. Good luck
Always
next
a pleasure,
week
man.
in the big one. And obviously, like you and everybody else, we'll be pulling for you because I think everyone's kind of in the same boat on this thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, and I really enjoyed it as always.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Dave Spadaro joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. I get the little ones involved with the Dog Pound. Join the Junior Browns backers presented by University Hospitals Rainbows Babies and Children in association with Cardinal Credit Union, the Browns' official kids club for ages 4 through 12. Members can enjoy activities and more. Join by February 2nd. Score an invite to our next event, Junior Browns Backers Bash. Visit juniorbrownsbackers.com to join today. Tyler Sullivan of CBS Sports ranked every team's MVP during the regular season. We are going to attempt to do ours and see how they compare. The G-Man is going to oversee the process. All right, you ready? Some of these I don't even know if I'm going to have anybody. Some of these I'm
trying to do a cursory research.
Yeah, there's no time. Bills, Allen. Dolphins.
Hold on. So then you tell us what he said, G-Man.
Bills, they had James Cook.
That's stupid. Dumb list. On to the next. Mailbag is next.
Next level's next.
Jeez. What are we doing?
If
You're
Josh
not serious.
Josh Allen's going to be the MVP of the league.
You're not a serious person. You're not
What
serious.
is the what?
That's silly. Now, I understand you can't all be quarterbacks, but that one has to be quarterback.
He's going to win MVP of the league.
Dolphins. I went H-N.
I'll say Jonnu Smith.
Devon Achane. Yep.
H-N, okay.
Pats. Jeez. I went Drake May because he gave
Drake
some
May.
help.
Christian Gonzalez.
He was good.
Yeah.
Jets.
Will McDonald.
Sure.
Jamian Sherwood, inside linebacker.
Oh, then you know you got a squad.
He had 158. The Jets didn't have a single Pro Bowler.
God, what a mess. All right, our division. Baltimore.
Lamar.
Yep.
Burrow.
They had Jamar Chase.
All right.
Okay.
Miles for us.
Miles and TJ
Yep,
Watt.
Myles Garrett.
TJ Watt.
More on Miles. It'll be interesting to monitor Garrett this offseason as a potential trade candidate. No. Looking back on the 2024 season, pass rusher continues to be one of the best in the league. Named a first-team All-Pro for the 4th time in the last 5 seasons, totaling 14 sacks, 22 tackles for a loss, and 3 forced fumbles. That was
Jerry would have been number 2.
Little blurb they had on Miles.
Pittsburgh, we go TJ.
Cam Hayward was Pittsburgh.
Fair. That's fine. Cam was great. He had a great year this year. He was All-Pro, first team. AFC South, Houston Texans, Nico Collins.
Derek Stingley Jr.
Okay.
Colts,
Jonathan Taylor.
Zaire Franklin.
An inside linebacker.
Another inside linebacker, yep.
Okay.
Jaguars, your boy. Who's your receiver?
Brian Thomas.
Yeah, Brian Thomas.
BT7, Brian Thomas Jr.
You got it? Good. Yeah, got that one right. Tennessee.
Simmons.
Sure.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Harold Landry.
Harold Landry.
Get yourself a Harold Landry.
Oh, man. We had somebody here a long time ago who was not a fan of Harold Landry's. He turned out to actually have a pretty decent pro career, I think. Hold on. Let me look this up real quickly. Harold Landry.
LSU, right? Is he an LSU guy?
That sounds right, yeah.
Boston College.
Oh,
wow.
So Harold Landry had 9
Who are we
sacks this
confusing
year.
him with who played at LSU?
Barkevius Mingo?
Harold Perkins, maybe?
Maybe that's it. Yeah, there's a Harold. And then maybe we just put Jarvis Landry with Harold Perkins, and that got us Harold Landry.
Yep. So Harold Landry.
I miss Jarvis, by the way.
I do too.
Love
Jarvis.
Jarvis.
So they had nobody. He had 9 sacks. Simmons had 5, 11 tackles for a loss. Sure, fine. Harold
Denver.
Landry.
Surtain.
Yes, PS2.
I mean, Bo Nix to me is their MVP. They had Surtain before, and he was first-team All-Pro. It didn't matter.
I'm just trying to do it so it's not all quarterbacks. Kansas City.
Chris Jones.
Probably that's what they'll do.
This is where they have Mahomes.
Okay. So you're going to have Mahomes in a year where and not Allen. Okay.
And not Burrow.
Raiders.
I'm going to say Crosby or Brock Bowers.
It's Brock Bowers.
Brock
yep.
Bowers, yeah. Chargers, Herbert.
Khalil Mack.
Lad McConkey.
What?
Oh, for God's sakes. Dallas Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb,
yeah.
yes.
The G-Men. The Giants.
Scottish Hammer.
Malik Neighbors, another one
Neighbors
of those
was
rookie
good.
LSU receivers.
Barkley and Philly.
J-Mac would love.
Jaden Daniels in Washington, Barkley in Philly, right?
Yeah.
Jane Daniels. Please
Saquon
say
and
yes.
Saquon and Jaden Daniels, Washington and Philly. G-Man.
Saquon, yes. Jaden Daniels, yes.
Bears. Bess.
The Bears.
I don't know. I mean, they kind of all underachieved over there. Is there somebody on defense that we're missing?
Taron Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah, Taron Johnson's on the Bills. Okay, the Bears. Minnesota.
Darnold.
Justin Jefferson.
Sam Darnold. Yep.
Okay. Green Bay.
Jordan Love.
Josh Jacobs.
Xavier McKinney.
Oh, I think he may have led the league in interceptions.
Okay.
Okay. Detroit. I mean, it's either Goff or Gibbs or Amon-Ra.
I would go. I like Gibbs or Goff, but I like Gibbs,
Jameer Gibbs.
Okay.
especially when he went down when the injury happened.
All right.
Atlanta.
Bijan.
Yeah.
Bijan.
Carolina. Bryce.
It's got to be Bryce.
Chuba Hubbard.
Okay. Saints.
Kamara.
Kamara.
Bake.
Evans.
It was Baker Mayfield. Yep.
Arizona.
McBride.
Trey McBride finally scored
Good
a
job to
touchdown.
you,
Thank
yeah.
you, Trey McBride.
Just Ramit. Stafford.
Or
Jared Verse.
Stop.
it could be Stafford, Nakua, Kyron Williams. Okay, Seattle. JSN.
Correct. JSN.
He came along, yeah.
And then they stopped throwing to him at the end of the year.
Which is what helped you, didn't it?
No.
Very
no.
beneficial for you.
Very
Niners.
49ers, we'll give it to
Tom Rathman.
Nick Bosa.
Not
Fred
Tom Rathman.
Warner.
Fred Warner.
Okay.
All right. There you go. This is an unserious list. As soon as you don't have Josh Allen as the Bills.
That was our first
First
team.
one. First team.
It's unserious.
Come on. Be better, Tyler. All right. The mailbag coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Boost your game day this season with the Valley Bet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet at $25 or more. Get $150 back in bonus bets. Valley Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for the mailbag. It's presented by the Cross Country Mortgage Company, official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns. When it comes to financing, they'll always get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029er. Hello, Gibby.
Gentlemen, hi.
Oh,
Happy
baby.
Thursday.
Indeed.
Sun's out, 47 degrees.
Real quick, let me
50
hop in
this
here.
weekend, right?
Let me hop in here real quick.
Depends on what you want to do.
Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know. Don't ruin the mailbag.
The son of former Cleveland Browns Daily co-host Matt Wilhelm, Mason Wilhelm, just received an offer from UNLV football. How about that? That makes me feel old.
Isn't he? He had an official visit at Ohio State.
Says he just received an offer there.
One of the Ivy League schools just
290. Great GPA. Good for Wilhelm. Good for
Yeah.
Mason. That's awesome.
Yeah, he looks great.
That's really cool. No, he's done a ton of visits.
Yeah, he's been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I thought.
awesome.
He was with Ohio's great. He was at Ohio State. I mean, he's been all over the place. Yeah.
All right. You can tweet your questions to @Browns_daily. A comment first from Rob Zaleski yesterday. Nice to hear the Mile High Browns Club get a shout-out from Browns Daily. Joined them for a game in Denver a few years back. They had a great group, great tailgate, apparently also do the good work. So, again, congrats to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. Catawba J.
Okay. It's my guy, Catawba.
You guys were discussing some ice cream.
Oh,
issues.
yeah.
He did recommend Toffs in Sandusky.
Yeah, I've had Toffs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's good.
It's great.
It's
Love
good.
it.
There's a lot of great
3-gallon
ice
bucket.
cream out there. There's a lot of great ice creams. That's
is the
a good
best.
one. This is just a different level of ice cream
Where'd you
than
go?
we've had.
Knowing that it's still
I
existing.
didn't
in a
even
few
have
locations.
time, and now I'm gonna have to hope that it's there next Wednesday because that's the next time I'll be able to go. Maybe tomorrow I could go. Actually, tomorrow after the show I could go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a big mess.
You know what I say sometimes though, like some people are like, "Oh man, if something's so good and it's gone, I wish I never even had." No, it's better to have tasted greatness than to have never
To have
tasted
had
it
and
all.
lost, or rather than never had it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be chasing that taste for the rest of my life.
The good news is you'll be able to reproduce the mouthfeel and their other flavors, but you're right. That is my favorite dessert taste, and I will be chasing it forever. And I've had other banana ice creams and banana
Lots
this
of
and
it.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's it's all garbage. This is the best ice cream that's ever existed in the history of the planet Earth. And now they've
So
taken
it just
from
continues
us.
to baffle me that it's been
They've
canceled.
taken it from us.
It's funny, like it's still on the site. We have 26 core flavors that are
Click
made.
on it. What does it say?
Maybe it's coming back. Are we going to lead a resurgence?
I mean, there's
Can
nothing
someone
that
reach
says-
out? G-Man
there's
should
nothing
reach
that
out.
Somebody
says-
did reach out, and they got multiple people I saw.
I
had
saw that
emails.
too, but like there's nothing on the site. Like you would think if it was discontinued, it wouldn't be on here. It's right here.
All right, I'm going to contact him. It's going to be part of my vacation. We'll be
I mean,
contacting
like here's an idea: get rid of Blue Moon.
Who needs it?
Who needs Blue Moon? What flavor is that? Blue Moon. That's something Bootsy would pick just because he'd like the color.
No. Bananas Foster, there's a reason it's why it's served at fine restaurants around the world. As
Tableside?
Tableside. Flambe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really acknowledge that it's gone, but I am going to go.
I'm looking at some of their others. I got
We
plenty
need to
here
reach
you
out
can-
to top people within
Top
that
men.
group.
Yes,
and find
we do.
There's plenty of flavors on
G-Man.
here that they could push out, and no one would
I know
feel
you're
bad
tracking
about
down
it.
Jeff George, but
I mean, they're just.
G-Man's
Bad ice cream.
on Jeff George is
I mean, some of these are just.
almost as important, to be honest.
I just don't think that there's anything on here that's. I don't know. I've had Tops, so.
from Browns backers North Jersey. What's the
North
story?
Jersey Browns backers. They got to have a great logo.
They do, actually.
Of course
They
they
have a
do.
really nice one. What's a story/topic you would like to see a 30 for 30 documentary made about? Okay, we're crushing it. Anybody answering the question?
Well,
today?
I'll answer the question. 30 for 30.
Great. You are the host.
That I have that has not been done?
Yes.
They've done so many. Do you have one?
What were we saying the other day? There should be a 30 for 30 on it. We literally were just saying this within the last month.
I mean, there's
About
was
something.
it the Ohio State run with all that stuff? But I mean, we just all lived that. I don't know that's just a little too fresh in the mind.
Too fresh.
By the way, I sent you the North Jersey. Just text you the logo.
The logo. That's what I was looking for.
Strong.
Oh yeah. I don't know if there's. I think if you could ever.
Has there been one on
I'll tell you what would be a fun one, and I know there's been docs on it before, but I don't know. I think it's always been done from the Duke side. I think the perspective of that UNLV team in '91, like what was really and I know there's been a UNLV doc that was done about Jerry and the building of UNLV.
Yeah.
But like that team, no one was close. Greg Anthony fouls out of the game with like 4 minutes left in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Johnson gets the ball in the wing. He's got a lane to go score and instead kicks it to Anderson Hunt, who shoots from 60 when nobody shot from 60. There's the image with the fixer in the hot tub. Like, if you could ever get the real truth on what happened with 1991 UNLV, that'd be a hell of a sports doc. But Tark's gone.
Truth. Duke beat him.
They did.
Maybe.
They did. But it was a stupefying last 5 minutes of that game. And no one was close to that team all year. They ended up having 4 first-round picks. Yeah, I don't know. If you could ever get the real truth on that would be one that jumps out.
I like it.
Preston.
Oh, I want a 30 for 30 on?
Oh, there we go.
That boxing match, that the Mike Tyson
Oh, how, like
Logan
what
Paul.
really happened.
Or Jake Paul.
The real
Mike,
truth.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
real. I want the real truth of that.
I think I
Yes.
know it.
I think we do too.
Yeah.
But I'd like it confirmed.
Yeah.
Preston with his weekly fact and question.
Oh, these are good.
Fact, according to Massachusetts law, you can't eat more than 3 sandwiches at a funeral.
Why?
I don't have an answer.
You
Just a
can't
fact.
eat
It's
more
law.
than you can't eat more than 3?
3
I want 4
sandwiches at a
sandwiches
funeral.
on the morning.
Who's eating? Whatever. I had fried chicken in a movie theater once. So, whatever. You want to eat sandwiches at a funeral? Like, is that at the luncheon after, or is that actually during the funeral?
Who's possibly adjudicating that? Hold on. Wait a second. That's your third. Jail.
You, sir.
Have sandwiches.
The officers at the doorway would like
It's little
a word.
clubs. It's
Yeah.
a quarters. What do you want?
Yeah.
No, 3.
That's it.
You're off. Enjoy the mass penitentiary.
His question of the week: as a kid, what brought you more joy? Your birthday with the party, presents, friends, or Christmas morning seeing all the presents that Santa left?
Christmas by 1,000 miles.
By a billion.
Birthdays were great. They were fine. But it was Christmas. It wasn't
Santa.
close. It wasn't close. It
I don't know,
was
this is great.
all the
Fireworks
joy.
for his birthday.
I love
did.
Santa.
Birthdays are great, but it's
Yeah.
such a distant second to Christmas.
Yeah.
For me, it was not close.
Jersey Dog wants to know the status of JOK. So do we.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch. I mean,
Yeah. Couple questions from Bobby.
Bobby!
Do fortune cookie predictions have a time limit? Good question.
I think they're all nonsense.
I don't think they're even predictions anymore. They're not fortunes. They're in many ways
They're just statements.
just statements. Yeah.
This one definitely applies to you both. Who is your most
I'll give you another 30 for
eccentric
30.
family member?
Eccentric?
Yes.
It was probably Zago. Zago's the man.
Uncle Tom had a full-size Indian teepee
I like that. Him and Bill Walton.
above his home.
Him and Bill Walton.
That's fact, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like a 30 for 30 on DeMar Hamlin. The fact that he's okay, like literally everything, what was actually known,
Especially if
at
there were
every
cameras.
point during that
Yeah.
game. There, cameras and mics everywhere.
gotta
This
be
all happened
everywhere.
on a football field.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
If you could have any fictional character as a coworker, who would it be? I think I know the answer to this as well.
Fictional character. I mean,
As a coworker under what auspices?
I
mean,
know, we just I'm
Marty
asking the
Funkhauser
question
would be a
as-
lot of
as
fun.
it's asked.
Uncle Baby Billy would be great.
Uncle Baby Billy would be. I feel like the Funk Man, Leon, would be quite fun.
Yeah.
In the mix, I feel like he'd have a lot of takes.
It'd be nice to have Stevie Janowski as one of our coworkers.
Stevie
That's all
Janowski,
he knew was the hierarchy.
Everything that he did was in homage to KP.
If he was
Yeah.
in homage to us,
Yeah, be great.
yeah.
We've chased that bar for a long time. That Stevie bar. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Dog
Those are good
Pound,
answers.
Cleveland Brown. What's your favorite fast food choice?
I mean, I don't do much fast food, to be perfectly honest with you. But when I do, I would either be under, and I mean, I'm talking. You're
talking about. You're not talking about fast casual like Chipotle or something like that. You're talking about drive-through.
Drive-through fast food.
Get it in the and
I'm
out,
assuming.
and you're out.
I
All
mean,
right,
I probably have this less than 2 times a year. But if it would be either Chick-fil-A or Taco Bell. No, nothing else is even close. Nothing else even in the discussion.
I love Chick-fil-A breakfast.
Those are the two. I had this exact same two. It's Chick-fil-A and now I haven't had Taco Bell in years.
Way too long. Same. I don't think I have.
You're missing
And
out.
I don't know. I know I am. I
Fantastic.
know
They
how
lost
good it
me
is.
when they did what Hudsonville did. Take away the best thing that they ever had, which was the volcano taco. When they just took that out of the rotation, they lost me, and then I haven't come
Also
back.
a big Wendy's fan.
I have not eaten at a Wendy's,
No.
Burger King.
I've had an Egg
McDonald's
McMuffin in the last year.
and a very
I've had
long
one of
time.
those.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. People love it.
No. Yeah, but Chick-fil-A. And then I think when Taco Bell decided, whenever they decided Doritos Locos Tacos, I'm like, who does?
Greatest.
That's the smartest thing in the history of the world.
Yep.
To do that. Those were killer.
Let me tell you something. In the
In the
glory
day. In
days,
the day.
in the glory days of my
Mama.
high school and even
Oh,
early
mama.
college, do you remember what the menu prices were at Taco Bell?
Like $1.29 or $1.09 or.
$59.79.
Oh, you're right. It
$99.
was.
It was
99
unreal.
was the most expensive
the
item
two young
on the
bucks in
menu.
here don't know
Yeah,
anything
you could
about
be out
that.
of there in five. You're like $4 and that was it.
Yep.
Locked in.
I remember there was a time where in
Give me enough
college,
for a cinnamon twist.
it was 3 people, and for the 3 of us, it was $50. And I remember when we went through the drive-thru, it was like they were handing us suitcases of food, and they're like, "This is the single biggest order we've ever had," and it was $50 for 3 people.
$50 for 3 people. You're right. 50. I remember.
It used to be $59, $79, $99.
Yeah.
99 was when you were in big time Supreme,
Yeah.
the upper
Yeah.
end. You used to be able to get chicken soft taco for 59 cents.
That's right. Yeah.
Love a dog today.
Man, was that good.
Scouting ahead for the CBD draft. What is your hand size? What would be your 40 time in bench press?
You get big mitts on
Pause.
Z.
I'm I think we did this once on the show. I think I was 9 3/4.
I mean, you are far and away in the best shape of all of us. I think you would be the clear number 1 pick in any
Correct.
sort of.
My
combo.
40 time would be slow. Very slow. I would be thrilled if I broke 5.5. No, maybe 5.
When is the last time that you ran as hard as you could, without the idea of warm up or anything? Just
I don't know.
Just sprinted.
Sometimes at the end of a night, if it's in the winter time and it's cold out, I'll just run. To go get my car, I'll take off.
Will you sprint though,
Yeah.
or just jog?
I mean, it's a fast run. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm running my life depends on it.
Yeah.
But I'm moving.
when
'cause it's cold.
when you're our age,
Yeah. By the way,
And-
225 I could do 5 times.
this almost happened
Maybe
to my
6.
buddy Seal last night at basketball practice. On a whim, he decided he was going to run lines with the kids,
Dumb.
and he took off sprinting.
Tore.
And went
What?
hard. He didn't, but he goes at the end. I go, buddy, I don't need to carry you out of here with an Achilles. And he goes, I may have done my hammy in. I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
of
do
course
that,
you
dude.
did.
You can't just sprint now.
Of course you did. Yeah,
You
no.
haven't sprinted.
No.
You have to build up to a sprint.
Yes.
You can't just.
So when I was, with that in mind, when I was in my training for AIW, I would go on the treadmill and have it be going at 10 to 12 miles an hour,
Yeah.
so cooking.
Yep.
And I would build myself up. I started at 8 and then 9, and I would do kind of what I figured in wrestling. I needed to be explosive for 15 seconds,
Yeah.
and then that was it. So I'd do 15 on, 15 off, 15 on, 15 off to kind of get my body used to trying to be explosive. Because that's, in hindsight, when I think of all the people who train for this and do this and tear a quad or
Yeah.
do something bad just trying to
Yeah.
do normal things, perhaps their steroids are a reason, or some other bodybuilding enhancement that I'm not doing is the
Yeah.
reason they tear these muscles. But at the same time, I'm very happy that ended. I'm fine.
You got out of that one okay.
Yeah. I think in retrospect, like, it was insane to think that I wasn't going to pull a muscle or do anything.
I believe I said all of these things in the moment and said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, but I did it.
I know you did, but I was like, and I know it was one of the crowning achievements, but I was like,
that's great.
Man, dude. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, there you go. Senior Bowl week wraps up tomorrow. So you have that we'll be doing, and then we get through tomorrow, and then we got Super Bowl week to come. I think everyone's lying who's saying they're not going to watch the Super Bowl. Everyone's going to watch the Super Bowl. I do think next week there will be a great deal of apathy for the game because we've just seen it so recently, and we've seen these two teams so much. I still think by the time you get to Sunday, you're going to get huge. That's what I said. Like, everyone's going to watch.
Yep.
But in terms of the lead up, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of interest in the dialogue around it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The way that it's going to go. All right, the next level is coming up next, kids. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.